Hey everyone, my name is Sally McFadden and I blog at thepolkadotlife.com. Welcome to the June Butterfly Inspirations blog hop. We are so happy that this is going to be a new thing for our group of friends going forward, and we're just excited to have some time together. Make sure that you follow along in the blog. There'll be a listing of all of the names of the participants, and just go from one right to the next one and you will have inspiration for a really long time. Just because this is new and you might not have visited my channel before, I wanted to introduce myself just a little bit. I grew up in central Pennsylvania in a very small town. My husband, he was blessed to travel all over the United States and the world with his career. And so we have moved quite a few times and we just seem to keep progressing further south. We have been in Huntsville, Alabama now for those 20 years now. So we love it here. It is our new home and we are enjoying it. I do want to insert a little disclaimer here on my video today. You may hear some little jingle bells or meows. My husband and I adopted a new kitten just a few days ago. He's just 3 pounds, 8 ounces, I think. And he is just all the sweetness that we could have. And his name is Milo. But he is sequestered in my office because we have 2 older cats and it's just not safe for him to be out and about yet on his own. So you might hear some, like I say, some jingle bells or him playing on the floor with his toys. He's pretty quiet though, so I don't think it will be a disruption. Back to the blog hop. I have been a paper crafter for well over 30 years. I began as a scrapbooker. I was a scrapbooker for a really long time. I've only made cards for probably about the last 8 years. I got into scrapbooking when my kids were young and doing all of their events, like probably some of you are with your children and your grandchildren. So my friend introduced me to card making, and that's primarily what I have done, but I have gotten back into scrapbooking too, and I have really enjoyed going back and seeing everything that's changed, and it's been a lot, but I have enjoyed that thoroughly. This month's blog hop is particularly close to my heart. Red, white, and blue says a lot about who I am. As I said, I grew up in a very small farming community. We had about 300 or 500 probably at the time. I think now it's probably about 300. But it was a very patriotic community. My father was a World War II veteran and was awarded the Purple Heart. And so patriotism was never an optional activity in our family. It's just part of who we are and it's in our DNA. So that makes me really happy that I got to make some patriotic things today. I have a couple different projects to show you. Hopefully you will find them useful. I think that they will be great for a beginner crafter all the way up to an avid crafter. So let's switch to the desktop and get started on today's projects. For my projects today, I'm going to be using the Playful Packaging Bundle, and that is on page 41 of our, well, we kind of call it our mid-year catalog, I guess, at this point, but it is the May through August, and this is what it looks like on the cover. If you don't have one of these catalogs and you would like one, you can get it online at my website, thepolkadotlife.com. Just there's a place to click on digital catalogs that you can get it and look at. But if you'd like a hard copy, if you are my customer, please contact me. But if you are a customer of another demonstrator here in the Butterfly Inspirations group, please contact them. I know they'd be happy to get one to you. So here's the actual product bundle that I'm using today. And they have the stamps and the dies. And I already have the stamps out and mounted on a block today that we'll use. So here's the actual die set, and it has the handle, the places for the actual treat holder, some sentiment layers and or other layers. We'll use it a little unconventionally too, and then some decorative things. Our first project today is going to be a card. I figured that some of you might be going to some 4th of July outings and maybe you wanted to send a hostess or host a thank you card afterwards. So that is what we are focusing on for this project right here. I will tell you my measurements were a little loosey-goosey on this. I decided that with this particular stamping that we were going to be doing, that it maybe was best to just leave this first layer a little bit, like I say, a little bit fluid. So I cut it a little bit larger than what I'm going to be using. My color palette today is going to be Blueberry Bushel, Real Red, and Basic White. And you pick whatever red or blue that you would like to use. I'm a bright kind of person. I like the bright colors, so that's why I chose this. I feel like I don't get to use Blueberry Bushel very often. So that is where I'm going to start. Now, just because this is a 4th of July card, or if you're watching from a different country, just take this layout and use the layout. Or even if you are in the United States and this is not the card you want to make, you don't have a use for it, whatever, just use the layout with whatever you have. These things I'm making today are all very forgiving and I'm not sure the word I'm looking for. It's multifunctional. You can just use these things for every occasion. So I do like this checkerboard stamp. And I want to put 2 on here. So let's just start here. And I want to leave a little bit of border around. As you can already see, I don't like that. I'm gonna flip this over and try to get this a little bit better, a little more centered, because we're going to probably end up cutting this down. And I just want 2 of these beside each other. These go together pretty easily and they're very forgiving. So if you don't get it quite right, that's not an issue. I'm going to wipe off this Blueberry Bushel ink before the cat gets into it. We do not want to have a Blueberry Bushel cat on the loose. Y'all might understand. You may have had mishaps with brightly colored inks before. Now I have this stamp set and I'm going to try to put it up here. This is one, it's like a half a flower or like a fleur-de-lis. That's what I decided to use. And this is one you just kind of have to get it as close as you can. And then you just kind of have to guess at this spacing. But this particular stamp, there's several of them that are like this. I'm going to tell you, when you peel these stamps off of your stamp set, you want to like let them sit, and maybe not on a glass mat, maybe on a piece of paper, because they catch onto this pretty easily. But you kind of need to let these get back into their shape. When I was playing around at first, this was crooked on my block because I didn't wait. And so it does make a difference. It really, really does. And you can do these as close together, as far apart as you want. And see, I didn't get that one cleared down there, and it maybe has shifted a little bit on my block. I may have loosened it and put it back on there. But it's okay. Like I say, we're kind of loosey-goosey here on this card. And I like that. So I can go in, and I know some of you, this will bother you. So I'm going to clean my stamp really well. And I am just going to ink up one of these little ones and put it here. I'm sorry, I know who you are. I'm like you. And we're going to cut that down, so we'll just cut around that. And if not, that's another great use for a white gel pen. I'm just saying, I might know this for a fact. So I'm going to clean this again. And I'm going to do that one more time. And I like that better. I know this about me. I know this about several of you. When it's kind of in a pattern, you just need it to work out a little bit better. But that's one way to handle that. But if it doesn't bother you, then just go with it. I'm going to bring my trimmer and I'm going to slide this out of the way. And I'm just going to bring this over. And I think what I'm going to do is try to just line up the top of those red with the edge, this edge right here, this edge of that. And that's going to cut off that little blotch, most of it. Like I say, I don't think that would bother me, even me, and I get a little anal about those things. And let's, since we know this edge is straight, let's go here. And you know, I think we're just going to leave that one the way it is. Like I say, this is just kind of a loosey-goosey. But this could be designer series paper. It could be, and you could just do an exact measurement. We have some layers that we're going to put on here. But, see, I need to back that down so we don't cut any of those off. Those aren't exactly straight, but I'm okay with that. And then now let's look at this one. I think it's, maybe take a little snippet off here. But I think we're good. And then when you're working with just a small thing, and if my trimmer blade, I believe, needs changed, let's just take our fingernail and smooth that out. Because sometimes you'll just get a little, like here, if you can see, you get a little layer of that paper. Let me grab my snips. And these are my ribbon ones, but in packing up all of the things, I don't know where my regular ones are. So it's just happening, which that's usually a cardinal sin in my house, is to take my ribbon scissors for something other than that. And I will have all these measurements on my blog, right in the post, and kind of just decide. I think I'd like mine this way, since this one's like really off. I don't know. I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm just going to kind of look at this too. This one, see, maybe I didn't cut it down enough for my layer, or maybe I should have waited and cut my layer just a little bit bigger. We don't sell these anymore, but these are a little handy dandy tool if you need to see it a little bit better to cut, or you just have to cut a small piece. This little guillotine cutter is really, really fun. I like this. And, you know, let's see. Might be able to get it just a little bit closer over here too. Okay, I like that better. No one will ever know that we, woo, goodness gracious. I can't even blame the cat on that one. Let's just get this all lined up. And then we're going to do the same with this next white layer. It's just slightly bigger. And I'm going to wipe this glue up. You know, I don't have my spray over here anymore. So this will work. Little Stampin' Mist. This is great for cleaning your stamps. It smells really good too. It smells very good. It's better than the rubbing alcohol I just had to clean this with before because it had so much on it. So now we can bring back in our card base, and this is just going to layer here. I think I do like it this way a little bit better. Now, you could put yours flat. I'm going to pop this layer up on some dimensionals. This one will work. Come of like this hook end. I haven't always used this hook end. We have a couple different add-ons for our Take Your Pick tool, and this is one that I've really enjoyed lately. I saw a friend using this, and I was like, yeah, I think that's what I need to do too. I always say you can put yours on directly with your dimensionals. If you're a little bit apprehensive, maybe you're new and you're just apprehensive about getting this to the place. Well, first of all, don't push it down. And then if it really makes you apprehensive, put some liquid glue on it and you can slide it around. But as long as you're not pushing on anything, you will be good. So here we go. I did some heat embossing, and I went ahead and just did 2 of these because you never know, sometimes I'll mess one up or things. So I just wanted to have 2 on the ready. I start with that piece of real red cardstock, and then I use our embossing buddy. It's just a resin bag. Like this is what it is. That way the powder doesn't stick everywhere. You use your stamp. I used my thank you stamp and my Versamark, which is just a clear adhesive type. It's not an adhesive, but it's an ooey gooey ink that acts as an adhesive for our white Wow embossing powder. I just did not want to attempt to heat emboss with the kitten. I didn't feel that was a safe situation. I don't know how he feels about noise, and so I didn't want to do that. So afterwards, though, I like to take a Kleenex or something. I use a lot of Kleenex, baby wipes in my craft room. But I like to, especially when you're doing this on black or something, I like to take a Kleenex and wipe that powder back, off that resin powder from our embossing buddy, just so it's a nice clean color. And then this is our 1 3/4 circle punch. If you don't have that, use a different size. Maybe you're using a different stamp set and you need to use a bigger one, or you want to use a smaller one, or you want to use a die. That is fine too. And I love these because we can just hold these in place and look to make sure they're where we want, and then we just pop it on out. And then I'll have one for another card. I am also going to put some dimensionals on this. This is very straightforward. And I'm going to pull these off. And I'm simply going to put this in the center. I'm going to take a little look at that, just because I'm trying to keep this up for you so you can see it better in frame, but it's a little further out of my eyesight. I also have a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of basic white cardstock for a liner for the inside of my card. And when I was doing it, I thought, oh, this would be kind of fun to do for, decorate it a little bit. You wouldn't have to do this at all. I am just going to put this on my grid here, and I could also, this is new, I'm not quite used to using this ruler, but I liked having a T for some things. But I am just going to put this up about 3 or 4 squares, maybe 3 squares. And like I say, this is going to be a little loosey-goosey too. But I kind of wanted this to be straight. I know that sounds weird. Tell you to be loosey-goosey, but straight all in the same time. I'm going to bring in this real red ink again. And our little fleur-de-lis stamp. And I am just going to take it and line it up and space it out the best I can on that very faint line. And see, it's not perfect there at the end, but that's okay. And then we're going to wipe up this red before we get that on something or someone, and clean off our stamps. Real red is one of those colors, And I think the blueberry bushel too, that if you don't clean up, you're going to regret it. It just kind of goes, and when it goes everywhere. I'm going to close this. Now, I have a weird thing. I'm always like the right adhesive for the right job. I prefer, and you know what? I'm blowing on that before I flip it over. And I'm just going to wait to erase it till after we're finished and give it a little bit of time, just so I don't take the risk of smearing that ink. And it's a very fine line, very faint line. I don't think anyone would see it anyway. But here's our card. It's just a simple, quick and easy, hey, I decided I'm going to get my hostess something, or so you could put it with a gift. You could mail it after the holiday. And I made an envelope for if you would decide to do that. I just took that piece of basic white, stamped it solid, and then put those little flowers all over it. There's a single stamp in the stamp set. Like this. That's what I use, and I just made a little random pattern on there. I thought it was fun, and you know, sometimes when you're doing the red and the blue, it does maybe change the color a little bit, but I like it. I thought that was a fun card, just as a little thank you. Or maybe somebody has a 4th of July birthday. I know people who really love having a 4th of July birthday, and they embrace it and they just celebrate that. I'm only going to show you this one. I'm not going to make it with you, but just because it has a die that's maybe made to make like a tent over a treat bag, doesn't mean you can't use it for something else. And like I say, this is a good, if you don't have a lot of supplies, or just ones that maybe work for a certain color theme, maybe for a school sports team, or you know, something like that, you can, like, this would be a great tag to use for graduation gift. You could use stars for graduation, and maybe, or flowers if it's a female, but you could just change it out for another little small stamp. You know, I'm sure that you have a lot of stamp sets, most of you, and you can just sub that out. But I just made my own designer series paper, just used cardstock, and I just layered that one. You can probably see here, just layered that one after another on there. I popped this layer up on dimensionals, and this I used the party banner dies. And then this is from the set. It's just a small little place. That thank you would fit really nice on there. But I thought it was kind of fun to put USA on here, a heart, and then the flower. But I just thought, like, if you wanted to take a little tea towel and a dishcloth to someone that was hosting you for the 4th, that would be a fun thing. And these USAs, these letters were cut out of the mini alphabet dies. Let me turn them that way for you. The mini alphabet dies. And I have them, and I always forget to use them. And I thought, hey, that would be really fun. I can break those out. And I want you to have a really open mind about all of these treat bags, not just the ones I'm showing you today. The ones I'm showing you today are geared more towards July 4th. But I have seen so many cute things. If you have children or grandchildren in preschool all the way up through teenage or even college years, these are going to be your friend. And so I am going to cut these, or make the tent thing. These are a little decorative we're going to use. This is the handle. I'm going to cut 2 of those because I think that it makes it look nicer and more finished that way. And we need a star. So back from the die cutting machine, we have one of these tent card pieces that does not have the scoring, one that does have this piece of scoring. We have 8 of these little labels that are red, 2 handles, and then we have 1 piece of blueberry bushel that's in that little square type shape that have the 2 rounded corners, and a star. And I'm just going to say, if there are any Texas folks in the house, I think that you will especially like this, and I think it's something that could be really useful. I'm going to do every other one here. And this doesn't like meet exactly, like there's still a little bit left on the edge. You just pick how you want to line it up. I just kind of wanted this part here to line up. And I thought this was the easiest way, just to put it on that white piece, put the adhesive on the white piece, and then we're just going to do again every other one. So we have this, and then I am just going to bring, actually I'm going to let this lay here for a minute and let it dry, and then I'm going to cut it with that guillotine cutter. Now this one's a little bit different because we do want this to fold down, but we don't want glue, you know, we don't want glue up there. So we have to be a little more mindful of getting glue up there, but I still think this is the easiest way to not get glue too far up there. We're going to put this down here, line that up, and just try to keep that straight there with the edge. And then just follow suit the best you can, line that up. But I can see this being used for all kind of things. Wouldn't this make like a cute little flower cart canopy, or a storefront canopy on a card or a scrapbook page? I think that these would be great ways to use. And this is one that, you know, I don't think that you would get rid of if you got it, because there's always going to be a need for a little cute gift packaging. I think we sometimes just think, oh, we can only do scrapbooking or only make card making with our supplies. I think the cat just found a very noisy toy over there, but he's okay. So let this dry just a second. But I do think this is a nice way, but you can use your trimmer too, or a pair of scissors, whatever works for you here. I just want to push and make sure that doesn't extend past there, and cut off those little bits. And isn't that cute? Now this one, we'll do the same, but we need to bring our bone folder in and fold, and we could have done that before too. It doesn't really matter how you do that, but we're going to put this in there as well and do that same thing. Just bump it right to the edge. And like I say, you can use scissors. You just don't want to cut that crease off of there. But you need this little piece back here. I'm going to take my handles. I'm going to flip them over so that we put glue on the wrong side. And you wouldn't even have to do it on both. You could just do it on one, but you know, it's habit. And I know a lot of people don't do this. I think this finishes it. I will show you on one of my examples why I think it matters to do it this way. But there you have this little handle. So with this flap, you're going to want this to go right here. And so to glue it, I don't want it clear down to that line because I kind of want it to stand up a little bit. So you can see kind of in that white space there is where I want to put some glue. And I'm just going to push it down. You know, you have to have it down enough to where it anchors, but you don't need to super duper make it go that way. So here's why. I'm going to show you the project, and then I'm going to show you, well, first first I'm going to show you what I found to put in my treat bags. Two little things. I think I got these both at Walmart. Maybe got this at Publix and this at Walmart, but I think they're pretty readily available. So these are the Nutty Buddies, and they are red, white, and blue. And they will be using 2 of these today. Thought they were small. So, and then these are, which is really kind of funny for July if you think Christmas in July, but these are little gingerbread men. And I thought that was kind of a neat thing. But a taste that most people only have a couple times a year. So we are going to use those. I think that should be dry, good and dry. I'm going to tell you, when I decided to do this, it was kind of later, and I did not have time to order cello bags from Stampin' Up. I picked these up at a local craft store, and they're a chain, 4x9 treat bags. I do not like these. I have not seen the Stampin' Up ones, at least I haven't for a while, but they have to be better than these. These are just a really low quality. But I mean, you also have to consider what audience you're using these for. If I was using this for a group of ladies at a book club, I would get the nicer ones. If they're just going to be for your grandkids at a picnic and they're going to throw them away in 5 minutes, then I probably wouldn't worry about it. Just being brutally honest with you there. But I put 2 of these little Nutty Buddies. Now these particular ones are gusseted. So, and that might be part of the reason I don't love them. I am going to cut off a little bit off of the top because I found that they were just so slippy and slidey, and I just didn't love the way that they held together. Now you have to make the call on this one. If you're using this for really small children and they're not going to be supervised, you might not want to do this, but I just broke out my stapler. You could use different means. You could use a twist tie. You could, do something different. But I am just going to, I just feel these, and I think it's the gusset that I don't love about these. So I'm going to try to get that back together and just do a little staple. And the same with this side. And then we'll just straighten up our Nutty Buddies after that. So here we have those. And just to keep things straight, I'll put one in the center. This one is designed to be the front and fold over your bag. I decided, it probably wasn't a bad thing to go ahead but you don't want to get above that crease. But just for some stability, I thought I could have just used some tear and tape there, but I just felt like it needed a little something. And then too, I think the gussets just make them stick out the side a little further than they should be. So I didn't love that. And if you wanted, if that bothered you in there, you could put a glue dot in there. You could do, something extra, but I think it will hold fine like this. I am going to grab my tear and tape, and we're going to start with this back one. And I even liked 3 rows of this. It's probably a little overkill. I just thought it helped it. Like I say, these were just so slidey, and I just didn't love them, how they were. So just to mitigate some of that sliding, that's why I used a little bit more adhesive. flip this over and we're going to line this up. Now, you do need to be a little bit careful about hooking in that bag till you're ready for it. But there's that. My tape is running low, so I'm going to put my bottom piece on first. And then I can put another. And I could even take one right there too. I mean, that's always an option. So I think these are super cute, the way they go together. And then I'm just going to take my liquid adhesive, take my little blue piece, put it up in the corner. Now granted, with those rounded edges, it's not going to, cover every little last inch, but make that straight. And then I just took a dimensional and put it on the back side of my star. The regular ones do fit, they're a tight fit. You could use a mini, you could cut one in half. And then I just put this right here. And I thought that was super cute. And that's why I say the Texan fans, the Texas people in the house, could you see this for state testing for the kids, or any type of history week, or all those kind of things, or just like I say, a book club, whatever. I think that is fine. Now I think it was that one. Yes, this is the one that I kind of got twisted up when I was putting it together, my original one. This is the back. You can't tell unless you really sit and look at it. But because I did those two handles, it doesn't matter. And unless you're using brand new embossing plates, the back side of your handles could look pretty rough. So I like that these just go together better. Now this one, like I say, this one just, I don't know, the way it was. Maybe I didn't have as much tape. I could put a glue dot or a piece of tape here to hold this together, my example. This one is a little bit tighter, but if this little gap bothers you, just do that. Put a little, you have a liquid, like a small little mini glue applicator. You could put liquid glue here. You could put glue dots in there, any of those things. But I just thought that was a fun project. You could have a basket of these at a picnic. These could be homemade goods if you're outside and you wanted to keep flies away. This would be a cute way to serve dessert, or somebody wanted to take one home. I just thought that was a really cute, fun idea. So we have our projects here, and I just thought they were really fun. It wouldn't cost you much as far, if you have this set already, it's just cardstock and some ink. If you already have the bundle, that is not a huge investment out of your supplies. They're just colors maybe you don't even use all that much. I don't use real red all that often except for Christmas. And like I say, the blueberry bushel, it never gets shown enough love in my opinion. But I thank you for joining us today. I hope that this inspires you to do something. Yes, cards, yes, scrapbook pages, but think outside of that in different ways that you could use this set. I think this is one of those good investment pieces, this bundle that you would just keep for a long time. It's never going to go out of style. You could always change the papers and the colors. If those trends change, that's fine, because you're going to change that out anyway. So just think about your supplies in a new and different way. As always, remember to be kind, send a card, and do something creative. Bye-bye.